Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Commands, talk today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. And thanks again for joining us on another terrific Tuesday's edition of Talk Today. We're going to start things off talking about the community shed. Hey, you want to know what it is? Well, I'm going to tell you how we can protect our future in the process. And then 1:30, the wonderful company of Miss Susie Soto will join us as we talk about something else. So it's going to be a great day. We invite you to be a part of it. I did my best to annoy Miss Susan, see if I can do even better now to get her to smile. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks for joining us. And I'm honored that I could reach out to a wonderful lady, a strong intellect, a great entrepreneur, and a champion for the culture. The presence of Miss Tiffany Conley always imbues us with a sense of, justice and a sense of doing things because they need to be done. So, Miss Tiff, good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon. It's always good to be here with you. How are you today?
Hey, listen, I feel like I'm on cloud 9. I looked in the mirror and I say, ooh, he's tall, tan, and handsome.
Yep.
And then I open my eyes and realize it's my... But it happens. It's a good day. And we give thanks with a grateful heart. And I'm glad that we're able to have this conversation to talk about things that are unfolding in our communities that oftentimes we don't realize how impactful it can be and how easy it is to make it happen, but how oftentimes we ignore it and realize it. So as we go on the table, perhaps setting the stage, if I could, through you and Mark, set it up and then, bring in our good friends from Protect the Future, because they say, tomorrow is today and tomorrow may never come if we don't embrace today.
Exactly.
Right? So the community shed and Tiffany on our discussion today.
Yes, so like he said, I'm here with Mark Nickel from the Community Shed, and we are here to talk mostly about how the Cayman Islands needs a reuse center. And a lot of people are always aware of recycling, and that's something that has been taught to us from we were in school, primary school. We've always been encouraged to recycle our plastics, our glass bottles, our cans. But we are here to talk more about a reuse center, which is, instead of breaking down materials to make something new, reusing that item in itself as its whole and just upcycling it, making something better out of the materials that are always present to you. So like instead of breaking down timber to make chipwood, just use the timber to do something else with it.
So reuse in that sense and repurpose would be one and the same, very similar?
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, as we, Mark will bring us into the discussion, certainly Sir Thomas will ask you and Kiara and others for a brief intro relative to Protect the Future. But Mark, the community shed, we've seen across various jurisdictions and even in Cayman in the past, we knew our community members. We knew who in the community was handy at doing what. And you could go to that person to get things, whether it was, a pants mended, whether it was something repaired, whether even just getting certain ingredients for a certain recipe. There was always this connectivity that we had, this connectivity we have in the communities. Now, in other jurisdictions, it's even more formalized, where you have centers that are there to teach a skill, but to assist financially or otherwise to engage. What are we talking about relative to the community shed? And what was the impetus for it?
Well, I think inherent in community sheds is that you're repairing things, reusing things, upcycling things. And what it became apparent is there was a bunch of us that were dumpster divers. So, we couldn't drive past something at the side of the road without going, I wonder if that'll fit in the back of my truck.
Which is separate from pack rat.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Oh, no, it's very different. The motives are very different, and it's much purer. And then you phone people like Kerwin Ebanks, and you go, Kerwin, you got a truck, man. There's something really cool, at the side of Shedden Road. You got to go get it. So on an ad hoc basis, that was fine. But then, with the shed, we were working with groups like ARC, Acts of Random Kindness. And, then as we got going, people would say to us, we're renovating our kitchen. Could you take the cabinets? We go, well, not really, because we don't have any place to put them. And then you'd phone Tara at Acts of Random Kindness, and she'd go, I'd love to have them, but we don't have any place to put them. We could use them in like 3 weeks when we're building, repairing a house for the Smith family or the Ebanks family or whatever, but we can't take them right now. So we've got perfectly good stuff that ends up in the dump: furniture, appliances, cabinets, and people who could use those things. And what's missing is a place for the dumpers to drop it off
before it is reused.
Before it goes, and save the random part of people like me just happening to see it by the side of the road, and then having that place where people can come either through ARC or on their own to say, well, I need to make a little table, in the back porch, or I want to make a better counter or something like that. So it really, and it's a part of the solid waste management agreement to build one in year 4. We're just saying, let's do it now.
Yeah. It's sort of like, as I listen to this whole idea that all the people say waste not, want not. Right? And they kept things that they knew were useful, but they had some way to put it. Now we sort of make it more organized. Thomas, from the perspective of Protect Your Future, I think sometimes when even the name, we got to appreciate that the acts that we do now will not just impact tomorrow, but will affect our quality of life, the standard of living, our health and welfare, but they are even our psyche now. So from your perspective, and then ask Kiara, and then a brief intro of yourselves and connected to your community shed. So share with us, Thomas.
Definitely. So my name's Thomas Dickens. I'm one of the 3 leaders at Protect Our Future, and we're a youth environmental organisation on Ireland. I think we're up to about 70 members now, growing by the day. But one of our fundamental goals is sort of making this island more sustainable. Of course, this directly relates to what we've been talking about already. It's that reuse component, and we specifically focus on almost that initial step, and refuse to buy that new product when you can go back and you can possibly fix something that's already broken.
Right. So even changing our purchasing habits at times.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's what it's all about. Lots of what we do today on this island is just inherently unsustainable. Our actions, our behaviours are not really considerate of the future, and it's not really considerate of my generation or the generations that will come after me. I'm doing this because I want my kids to be able to come back to this island one day and free dive like I have, or go fishing like I have, and not see an ocean that's littered with plastic or materials that don't really need to be there.
Or too many people taking too much stuff. But
yeah, exactly.
Let's start with you. Let's make it in order.
I'm Evie. My name's Evie. I'm also part of POF. And yeah, it's just, it's a lot of what we consume on this island is stuff that we could be refusing. There's, like Mark was saying, there's so much kind of materials and products that haven't outlived their life yet, and it's so much easier to refuse the new stuff and the stuff that's been produced when there could be things that we could be using already and things that are still valuable for us in our community.
Indeed. And Kiara?
So my name is Kiara. I'm part of the action team in POF, so that includes making campaigns against plastic ban policies, that sort of thing. The main thing that I can see happening on this island is just unnecessary waste. Even just talking to the generation before me, so like my parents, they were saying that even just bottled mineral water wasn't a thing back then, and it's just crazy how we're using all of these things that are just not needed.
Before I ask Mark to weigh, Thomas, let me come back to you for a second, because we're looking at things that are generational shifts, and Kiara's point is that my parents, their parents, it was out of necessity that certain things were done. Perhaps the best example from the Cayman cultural context would be the coconut. Everything in the coconut was used and reused, and it had a purpose, right? From the food to its ability to clean, to its ability to act as sort of that carrying thing to help us with the mosquitoes in the evening. So it was purposeful. The 3 R's, back in Mark's day was reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? Now it's more and more. More. Race. So is it generational that now the environment in which we live, because of our affluence, the mineral water, the bottles of things, everything is disposable. We no longer have a phone that we can repair because it can't come apart. Back in the day, you could take it apart and fix it. Yeah. Everything is different. What do you take?
Definitely. And it's just sort of the design of society today, and especially the society we're around, where, you got it on the nose with the phone. It's designed obsolescence. It's created to be thrown away in 4 years when these companies have new technology that's come out. So it's across the board. It's almost ingrained that we need to be catching up with society and maintaining this idea of what we need to be having. It's a massive problem, but lots of people my generation like to blame it on sort of our parents, but I know for a fact that I'm just as at fault, and plenty of other people my age are just at fault, because in different ways. To be honest, I've always wanted the new phone. I've always wanted to keep up with that. I want new shoes every so often, because I don't want the old ones looking dirty, but often there's not the need. It's not necessary.
So Evie, as we go into a break from that perspective then, right, and then we'll come back, we'll get the older heads, the elders in the council to share with us, because we can see the connection. It is us, it's our purchasing habits, it's our desires or wants to drive what it is, and then perhaps the manufacturing, because of the cost, make it disposable. In economics, there were consumables and durables, and that washing machine, there was a durable good back in the 50s and 60s. Now it's a consumable that may last 5 years if you're lucky. Back then, you got 20, 30, 40, 50 years with it, and it was a clunker. So let me then ask then, is it then that is now, not just your generation, but all of us now, individually and collectively, consciously making purchasing habits that say, no, we don't want a big box thing, we don't want the disposable thing, we want it to be better? And if so, how do we bring that about?
I think that's really important, just recognizing in yourself, like, I don't need this new thing. I don't need to constantly be buying new stuff. And what we need to be doing as consumers is advocating for products that are designed not to produce as much waste, and products that are designed to last longer so that they can, be better products, and so we can use them for longer without producing that same amount of waste. So I think it's really important that we exercise our voices to make sure that producers know that what we need are products that will outlive us, like you were saying.
Okay. So Mark, when we come back from, let's focus on what the benefit a community shed would be for, our communities. And then do we have one in every district? Do we have a couple of satellites? What would that look like to bring it off the ground? Well, how would we as citizens participate in sort of, helping to bring the goods that you would need, that old table that instead of going to the dump or staying in the backyard and rotting down, or with the greatest respect to my friends who are creatives, becoming some art piece, it's actually become something that's repurposed for maybe a basin stand, maybe it is a door, maybe it is something very functional as well as artistic. I'm going to pause and take a break, and if you want to know the winning numbers from last night's lottery, that's another district, not here. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
At Subway, we caramel a lot about our customers, so we decided to give you 2 treats in one with the new Caramel Apple Cookie. Enjoy cinnamon apples, caramel bits, and salted caramel crunch baked in, and topped with a drizzle of caramel-flavored icing. Gooey, crunchy, and yummy. Complete your Subway sandwich, pizza, or salad with the delicious Caramel Apple Cookie or any other cookie flavor and dessert, available for limited time at all Subway locations. Subway, eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
20 years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years,
so much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Kirk Freeport's $40,000 Christmas sweepstakes is back. Once again, simply spend $100 at your favorite Kirk Freeport store, and you could win one of 3 $5,000 cash prizes, one of 5 $1,000 cash prizes, and many other great prizes throughout December. All purchases of $100 before noon on Christmas Eve qualify for all remaining prize draws. And don't forget the annual Kirk Freeport Rolex watch prize draw for all entries, held on January 4th. Full details on KirkFreeport.com. Merry Christmas from everyone at Kirk Freeport.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. They say where Tiffany Conley is, there is a good day, and great things are happening. As we get a chance to talk about the community shed, she's joined by Mark Nicol and 3 of the leaders over at Protect Our Future. We got Thomas, Evie, and Miss Kiara. And I think understanding the importance of our youth, their involvement, having them actively engaged and present and accounted for, is important for today and the future. Now, Mark, as we went into the break, looking at a community shed and projects like that, sometimes we can see the simplicity, but we don't see the significance. But we also don't see how sometimes the challenge to mobilize the people and the resources to have this thing that results in a more sustainable future.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think this is where, the shed members. I mean, we don't have a location right now, so we've been kind of on hold. But the bits and pieces we were able to do, again, just reminded us that there are truckloads going by to the dump every day, and equal numbers of people who, if you put me at a checkpoint at the dump, we'd be slowing them. They think, no, put that over there. No, this over here. Yeah, and then if you had Tiffy and I together, then nothing would be going there. Maybe the concrete rubble or whatever. Right. But I think that it's that central place. And I think you were asking before the break, would you have regional ones or whatever? What it's becoming clear to me, and I think we've chatted a little bit about this, is we need to get some people together to talk, and that would be DART, their waste management people, the DEH folks, some of the creatives, the Trash Talk folks, anybody else that's interested to talk about how do we make this work? Right. What's feasible? There's models in Australia and in North America and whatever. But I was at a lot of those actually through the fall across Canada, and what I think, again, you want to make sure it works here and that it harkens back to the kinds of stuff that, like, the stories I've heard of Kem Jackson and how, he got his start as a ship's engineer because he fixed something even though he was working in the galley. He went up and fixed something that no one else could fix. And then thereafter, he was no longer washing dishes. He was fixing stuff. So how do we help share those kinds of skills? How do we teach those kinds of skills? Or have folks who don't have them to say, my washer's broken, can I donate it?
Yeah. So let's then ask then, because as you shared, a couple of things come to mind. What's the saying? One man's meat is another man's poison, right?
Yeah.
But one man's junk is another man's treasure. Right? So where do we separate this thing that no longer has a value to this person? They can't repair it.
Yeah.
They can't go to the hardware store, especially now where the supply chain is interrupted. You can't get it. And then to Thomas's point, everything is being designed, manufactured, marketed, and sold obsolete before it leaves the shelves. And even if it wasn't, well, you can't get to it. You can't pull apart the radio like you could before. So is that a cultural shift and marketing as well as manufacturing paradigm that we need to look at to make sure that this thing is no longer a disposable society from the people to the product?
Well, I think that I love cars. So there was a time when you could always rig up the engine with a rubber band or piece of tie strap and it would work and it'd be fine. And the cars nowadays, you can't really do that.
There's no fire belts anymore.
Exactly. There's nothing to rig up. It's just a big square now.
Yeah.
And so we do have to keep that in mind, that we have to take that into consideration when we're taking these appliances in. Because like you said before, washers could outlive you. You know, your grandmother's washer was the one that you had in your house. That's not the case anymore. I know my mom and I we're like, we just bought a new washer and we already hate it. And but we do have to keep that in mind. But we are hoping to have people who are familiar with these electronics and appliances that can look at them and see what parts can be bought to fix them, and we'll have that in the front of the line. When we take it off the truck that's going to the dump, we'll assess it and see if it's something that can be fixed to be reused as it was, if it can be fixed to be a washer again, or if those parts will then be taken apart to make something new.
So as I think about it, and I certainly want to consider that this is a societal shift. It's going to be something that's going to cross many jurisdictions, but it's probably going to take time. So in asking what we do now to make it impactful, let me then ask that person, Christmas is coming up, they're renovating, they're getting rid of the cabinets, they're going to get rid of furniture, but there are other things that they want to change out for whatever reason. It's not working anymore. Their tastes and fashions have changed. They've hired a moving company, and the haulers have come. It's going to be properly disposed of at the dump and recycled or properly. But how do you get that thing that has another use for somebody else in another purpose from, not just out of the annoyance of the present owner, and instead of end up in the landfill, to the intermediary as a community shed?
Well, I think, again, the models that I'm familiar with, often they don't, well, actually in some cases they have a truck. So you're doing some renovations, they would send a truck, with a power tailgate or whatever to come pick up those cabinets, those kinds of things. Other cases it's more of a drive up, and in a lot of the models they weigh stuff because part of their funding comes from the stuff they divert from the dump. So you weigh the truck before and after and keep track of that. But certainly I think that's where, as a reuse center, you want to be able to say, okay, so that's clothing and whatever. So we've got a bin here, and we'll share that with the thrift stores for that. Oh, but we could also do, back to your point about creatives, corks out of wine bottles. A lot of people do stuff with corks. So why wouldn't you encourage restaurants to keep them, maybe give them a special kind of container for them? So those kinds of things could also be at a reuse center. Other things that other people, bottle caps. You look at the art that was done a few years ago. That was it Bob Marley, that big thing, and it was all done with bottle caps picked up on the beach. So there's that smaller scale stuff, but the bigger stuff, I think Tiffany's point is excellent, because what I've learned from Spike is there's like 4 major components to a dryer. And if one of them fails, you might not be able to get the part for it. But so you get another one. But maybe for every 3 dryers that come in that don't work, you can go, we'll take the motor out of this one, the control panel out of this one, and you've got one that works.
Right. So with that and looking at the aesthetic as well as the repurposing. But let's take cars for instance. We know in some jurisdictions there is a central salvage yard, junkyard, and the cars are taken in. You go and you get reusable parts for the old cars and the like. But we also know in some practices, and sadly we see it becoming unsightly here, along the side of the roads in people's yards, there's a collection of old vehicles that are derelict. We're being kind and using the word. So how do we get this thing, whether it's a car or some other thing that no longer has a use at that point, from collecting and being an eyesore, being a potential health hazard, and staying there, being reused as opposed to being properly disposed of?
Yeah.
Well, between DEH and Dart Enterprises, they're supposed to be taking this on. So we're trying to encourage, yes, as much community involvement as possible, but we really want to get onto the government to make this a part of their project. We want them to be as involved as the community. It should be a 50-50, if not 60-40, because this isn't something that we're just doing because we think it's cool or because it's a trend. This is something that will benefit generations coming, so I want that everyone takes away from this, that the government to be as involved, because then we'll be able to afford trucks that can go around and pick these items up and many other things.
All right. So after the break, let's do two things. How do we get, because everything takes resources, from the money to the time to the people. So let's talk about how we get that off the ground and where we are and what will happen. And then from the Protect Our Future perspective, I mean, this impacts us now, but in 30 years, you'll be, 28? My math is good, right, Thomas? All right, we're going to pause and take a break. And then we come back, more talk today.
Savannah Pharmacy. Shop local and get a head start on your Christmas shopping. For ladies' handbags, clothes, shoes, fragrance, candles, and cosmetics with the newest Farmhouse Fresh line of skincare. For the gentlemen, clothes, shoes, fragrances, gift sets, and toys and games for the kids. Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they are always just around the corner with everything your family needs. And convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
A friendly holiday reminder. You can WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045. That's 929-5045.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
You can now register online to receive a securely verified digital copy of your COVID-19 vaccination status with QR code through the MyHSA patient portal. Sign up is available online and at all HSA locations. All you need is your photo ID showing date of birth and an email address. Visit hsa.ky and click the My HSA patient portal icon to get started.
Stay clean, stay safe, hey man. Reflection sells gallons of sanitizer for only $25. Buy 2 clip-on sanitizers for just $5. Reflections has the best KN95 masks or reusable cloth masks, and you can get 2 for only $5. Blue surgical masks and face shields are available for children and adults, as well as 10 and 50 packs of black surgical masks. Volume discounts available at Reflections. Jose's Rubus, Reflections Hemp and Tobacco, all 5 Liquor for Less locations, and Food for Less, open 24 hours every day. Don't miss the Liquor for Less incredible priced better markdown. Hundreds of fine from $2.99. Cases of ice cold below wholesale prices. Save $10 off liters of absolute exclusively at Liquor for Less. Prices so low we can't say them on the radio.
The Ministry of Education invites eligible Caymanians to apply for overseas government scholarships for the 2022-2023 academic year. To apply for an overseas government scholarship or learn more about the various scholarship programs, please visit the recently upgraded scholarship application portal at www.moescholarships.gov.ky. Applications close on Monday, 31st of January, 2022.
Feeling safe in your community is paramount to overall well-being. At the Security Center, we've been securing businesses, home, and infrastructures for over 20 years. This year, we're proud to receive the Global Seal of Approval from the International Organization of Standardization for our products, services, and operations, making the Security Center the first security firm in the Caribbean to achieve this level of certification. When it comes to putting security first, think Security Center, protecting your world 24/7.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks to Tiffany Conley for always being a valuable resource to us. She joins Mark Nicholas. We talk about the community shade, and from Protect Our Future, Thomas, Evie, and Kiara sits with us. That melding of generations, that sort of recognition that our actions impact and affect our lives now, but in the future, is where that divide is going to be bridged, and we can see the importance. But Mark and Tiffany, I was kind of asking. Having an idea and a concept and a vision is great. Bringing it to fruition is even better. Getting a buy-in from the wider community is imperative. But where the metal meets the road, as it were, it's the resources, the financial as well as the people. You may have the people on one side, but what they say, money makes the world go round. The more you have, the more you can say. That is good. So where do we get it from concept to completion?
Well, I think partly is ensuring that we understand how it fits with things like the solid waste management strategy, the solid waste management agreement, with best practices around the world in terms of reducing things. We know, for example, that the landfill is largely capped now, and there's one, I think, just west face that still has room, and it is filling up quickly. So that's a very pressing issue, is that they're running out of places to put stuff. So particularly, let's stop putting stuff that can be reused in there. And I think the way you do your best to help people make the call, find a friend with a truck to get it donated to the right place. Don't leave it outside so it goes moldy. Don't, because kitchen cabinets that are left through 2 rainstorms are garbage, those kinds of things. So there's an education part. It's involving the people. Let's sit down for a day or so. Let's look at what works elsewhere. Because there are certainly, every jurisdiction in the world has to deal with trash. That's an issue. And countries like Cayman, where you can't just dig a hole and bury it, that's, it's even more pressing. So we can learn from those examples, take a look at, and how can it work here? How does it support? Like I saw one of the appliance companies here on island is now, we'll take away your old appliances if you get new ones, and they will donate them to ARC. Well, again, you'd want to coordinate with that.
But let me then ask, because that act of donation, for some of us, we're happy to receive it, but there's some of us, what you give me the old thing for? We'll be feeling insulted, embarrassed to take it, right? And I come back to maybe the affluence. Thomas, sometimes we believe that because we're supposed to be this rich nation or this perception of wealth and affluence that I can afford that to buy the new thing. I can get the latest, even if you can or can't. Mindset?
Yeah, definitely. It's all in the head, and it's arguably the biggest actual environmental problem we're facing now is people have certain obligations that they feel are put on them that aren't necessarily the case. And it's the most ridiculous things. I've even had times where I'd bring a reusable water bottle and people go, you don't just want to spend a few dollars on buying just a bottled water. And then it's suddenly, that is just so divided. There's such a difference in how two different people think. It's a massive problem, and it's ingrained through society.
Right. So Evie, from that then, is it that this is like much, Scripture talks about, let the young lead you, their wisdom is in your generation. Is it that it's for us now, you guys as well as the rest of us, coming on board and you driving this to make that cultural shift? Or is it, what do you think?
Well, I feel like, we work better when we work together. I think everyone in the community has a responsibility to sort of make sure that that community will exist for future generations and make sure that we protect what we have. And yeah, I think it's just, you know, everyone can make that difference and everyone can work to remove the stigma around, you know, reusing things and recycling things. Everyone can work to make sure that their actions don't negatively impact the environment. I think it's very shared.
Right. So Kiara, then from that, is it terminology and labels, you know, before the older sibling hand-me-downs to the younger siblings, right? And that was and that was upcycling. Oh, look, you know, I've bedazzled this.
Yeah.
Is it more the mindset, as Tom was saying, or is it part of the semantics, you know, in getting us to make that shift?
Well, what we can see today is there's a huge consumerism culture. And just to go back to our name, Protect Our Future, for me, I honestly don't think that it should be the responsibility of only our generation to make that cultural shift. I think it's the responsibility of all of us as Caymanians, especially since we live on this tiny island and we're getting everything imported. We just don't have the space, as you said. We don't have the space for any of this stuff to go, whereas larger nations like the U.S. maybe have some dumping sites, but ours is right next to our school. You know, we smell it every day. We see it when we drive into school, and I think absolutely it's just something that everyone needs to be conscious of.
So that consciousness then, but Tiffany, start back with you. We are aware of it. We see it every day. We cross the dump. We see the litter on our roads even after a weekend of cleanup. We see the initiatives and education from the public and the private sector, as well as even in our individual homes. But is it being meaningful? Has it resonated with us that we are actually doing something positive to not just recycle and reduce, but we're repurposing, we're reusing this thing? Tiffany?
Well, like Evie said, I think this initiative and what we're trying to do is we're trying to break that stigma that upcycling and reusing means that it's less than. Because how I explain it is, if a washer can serve 2 families, is it not better than a washer that can serve just one? You know, a dryer, a table that can be repurposed to benefit more than one family, to benefit more than one person, would that item not have more value than the one that was just tossed to the garbage after the first person had use of it? Something that can benefit a community rather than just in... I know many companies have offered me their office tables, and because they're refurnishing and they're getting new things, and now I'm able to give that to people who have a home office and they have a little plastic table, and now they feel that they can be more productive because they have a better environment. All of these things we really want to encourage. So,
right. Well, with that, then there may be 2 things, and I'm cognizant of the time. Is that it almost seems to have been connections. If I know Spike, and I know Spike can get this thing from here to there, like many of us who are renovating or having our new office furniture, we know who to call. But we want this to be more accessible and much more perhaps well known. But in that Denmark, we're creating gated communities. We're talking about stronger together, and yet we're dividing ourselves with
in smaller and smaller.
Yeah. So is there an inherent conflict and growing divide by what we say and how we live? We can't access certain places from point A to point B because... Hey, Thomas, I like your comment so much. Share with me.
No, you hit that right on the nose, and that's a massive problem we have on Ireland, and I mean, that's an issue that's even greater than anything we're talking about today with environmental issues. But
how do we address it?
Constantly, And a problem we have with Protect Our Futures, we were founded at CIS. It was first started by a bunch of students at CIS. We have now moved out to a few schools. We got outlets in Cayman Prep now, St Ignatius. We're trying to expand as much as possible, and we have people coming to our events from all over, but we still have the stigma as being, frankly, it's the white kids from CIS. Well, CIS is an international school. It's a diverse school. We've got plenty of different people from plenty of different socioeconomic backgrounds or cultural backgrounds, and there's still just an inherent divide because of who you are, which is actually stopping the progress from being done. And I think that cultural divide, that socioeconomic divide, is a massive problem with this, because you have that sort of mentality of, well, if my family are fairly well off, then I'm not going to be using something that belonged to someone else, or I'm not going to be handing anything down. It's a ridiculous problem, and it's in itself stupid. Anyone who thinks about it it just realizes that it's stupid, and everyone talks today about, oh, well, I'm open-minded, I don't think I'm better than anyone else, and then they go around and do exactly this, which is fundamentally contradicting sort of what you're trying to believe.
See my lawyer in the making. No, but I'm glad you said that, because out of that wisdom, we see the importance of what we're trying to do. We can bring the skill sets, of you and Tiffany to the table, literally, as to what we can do to make this impactful. But unless we change, I mean, think of Walker's Road and Church Street. The neighborhood that was Webster's Estate is now gated. Okay, the communities in there must be frustrated with people traversing through there to get from one road to the next. But you start getting off places, you start dividing communities, and all of a sudden now it's us and them. And what happens when we feel that we are better or they're not deserving, we're going to go in. And
what happens when it becomes us versus them?
Yeah,
because right now, a lot of times, like you're saying, it's, oh, well, I don't want to go to this event because it's put on by them, but I want to start my own, rather than joining together and having a larger following, having a larger group, having a larger committee. But everyone wants to start for themselves.
Right.
So
Eve, you said it, we're better, we're stronger, we're healthier together, right?
But then when we're apart and when we're building up those stigmas, like Thomas was saying, there's a disconnect. You don't think this plastic cup I buy impacts the lives of everyone in Cayman. You think, this is mine and it's for me. It's all focused on yourself and your own small group. And that means people don't make the changes that are necessary for the entire nation.
We're up to repeat, whether it's, what Gandhi, I think, said, be the change you want to be. Or we're listening to, Michael Jackson, Start with a Man in the Mirror. We know these things. Burke told us so, evil prevails when good people do nothing. But yet we sit with our thumbs in our eyes and we're blinded to what is obvious. I'm at work. I know you guys got to get back. We have a news break. You want to continue after shortly, Miss Tiffany, or you want to head out shortly? All right. Good. I'm going to order lunch. I don't know what you guys want. I'm going to pause and take a break. And for those who are listening, we invite you to be a part of the discussion, because I think as we involve and invite our young people into the discussion, we understand that they have an expectation from us. We have an obligation to them. Working together makes us stronger, healthier, safer, more stable. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. We're talking about community shade, and Mark is going to do a demonstration on how to take an old transistor and make it into a rocket. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Department of Vehicle and Driver's Licensing Crew Road location will be open for vehicle owners with temporary plates to switch them on Saturday, December 11th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The temporary plates, which are paper laminated, will be exchanged for permanent ones. Customers are reminded that failure to replace temporary plates is a criminal offense with a fine of $2,500 or up to 6 months imprisonment or both. In international news, early indications suggest the Omicron variant of coronavirus is more transmissible than Delta, Downing Street says. But much remains unknown, and scientists are yet to draw firm conclusions, but are continuing to analyze samples of the virus and real-world data. China has condemned a planned U.S. diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing and threatened to retaliate. Foreign Ministry spokesman said China would take resolute countermeasures, but did not give further details. On Monday, the U.S. said it would not send diplomats to Beijing over concerns about China's human rights record. It added that U.S. athletes could go and would have full government support. Instagram has announced new features it says will help teenagers and parents manage time spent on the app. Parents will be able to see how much time their children spend on Instagram and set time limits, while teens will get reminders to take a break. It comes a day before Instagram chief Adam Mosseri is due to appear before U.S. senators investigating online safety. Instagram has been under increasing pressure over teens' use of the platform in recent months. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And I want to say a special thanks to our guests, not just for their time, not just their passion and enthusiasm, but the willingness to demonstrate through an active example what is attainable working together. And I think always we see that our students are sometimes our greatest resource, and sadly at the same time the ones that we ignore the most and the easiest and the quickest to push to the margin, but yet they're affected. So from Protect Our Future, Thomas, Evie, and Kiara joins us, and then as we talk about community shed, Mark, you and Tiffany helped us to appreciate the significance of doing this. But I can just, even as we're talking, I can see some people thinking, this is just one of those other things nowhere, and then we fill in the blank, making a name. Not going to go no way. If I might, Miss Tiffany, we have seen the great work you're doing, not just the artistic creations, but the functional meaningfulness of whether it's the tables or whether it's the other uses. So this could be something very practical, potentially financially rewarding to that person who takes this unclaimed, underused item that is going to end up in the dump, and it's become an art piece. It becomes a functional, item of utility to someone.
Yeah, so on my website I actually have a section that is called functional art, because it is the upcycled pieces, so like lamps that Mark has given me. I just recently did a glass table with an aluminum base, was it? That came out of the ocean?
Welded aluminum, washed up on 7 Mile Beach in front of our house.
Exactly. So all these things, like I see them, like he sent me a sign the other day, and as he sent the picture, I was like, oh, I know what I'm going to do with it, because I have all these ideas, and I'm just waiting for these parts to come in. But I do want to touch on you saying that how are we going to make sure that this isn't something that's just going to be talked about on air and it actually becomes so Mark and I have talked before about how the DEH and the Regen project with DART is actually something that was talking about, and I'm just going to read a few things. So the the Department of Environmental Health and their Regen partner DART Enterprises will be taking over the responsibility of the treatment of all solid waste management for the next 25 years. Now, once completed, the Regen project will not only turn the Georgetown landfill into a remediated green space, it will also be constructing a new waste management facility located on a 34-acre area southwest of the landfill. Now, at an expected cost of just over $200 million, about 9 newly created integrated facilities will have the capacity to divert up to 95% of waste from the landfill in alignment with the National Solid Waste Management Strategy of 2016. Now, 2016 was a while ago. I think we all are aware of that. I haven't seen, I think we're all pretty good with math in here. And that was a while ago. And I personally, yes, in the last year or so with all of the fires, we've seen a bit of a push, but nothing to the extent of what I think we should have seen by now, especially if they only have 25 years that this was talking about, and the space is being taken up by more waste, which is then decreasing the amount of space they will have to make this Regen project. So we want, instead of doing something for recycling, we're hoping that this is we can convince them to work with us on having a reuse center rather than to chip down and cut down these materials like tires that can be turned into tables. I mean, like at my little sister's schools, I'm working right now to collect tires and make little tables for them to be outside so they can have. And we just really want that this $200 million that they're willing to put towards a recycling center, we are hoping to have it be used for a reuse center.
And as Mark was sharing, it's not just down the road that this would come in, bring it forward and do it now, because it could be impactful. Yeah. With the greatest deference to any government or any public sector project, we all know 20 million can easily become 2 billion. And what should be a 5-year project goes on and on. I think of the great build in Boston way back when with the airport. Isn't that still happening? So these things happen, but there's also the opportunity cost. I mean, that 200 million is money that could be spent on housing, could be spent on other things that are important or as important, but can't be because
as long as it's not the cruise port.
Yeah.
It won't be that, man. We've got there sensible. I mean, Mark would tell you, Spike was a child. No, but Thomas, this is where your voices collectively make a meaningful impact as to what we should be doing. A question off air was posed. We see that this COVID thing now has created all sorts of wonderful excuses for people to delay certain things, have created a great fear in people in terms of their unwillingness or even inability to do certain things. Has it affected or could it affect this project in any way?
I think it's the opposite. I think being locked down in your own country should be the excuse to do something like this, to collect all of the waste, to be like, well, we have nothing else to do. We're all stuck here. Let's fix our island. Let's clean our country. I don't know why it is that we're saying, oh, well, since we have nothing to do, let's continue to do nothing. You know, we had almost an entire year to go around to people like me and Mark who've connected, who can find each other. And I think that's what it is. There's so many individuals of people who have this same idea and the same mission and goal, and if we all just get together and become, like you said, stronger together, that's what we're looking for. So we're hoping to get a lot of people who can reach out and connect with us to be able to make a larger group so that this can move forward, because I don't think being stuck here and using COVID as an excuse should be validated at all.
Thomas, you want to jump in? I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, no, that brilliantly said. And I mean, POF has been trying to say that from the beginning. One thing we've been talking about, and Plastic Free Cayman has been talking about for the last few years now, is the single-use plastic ban. And if there's any time to do it, it's probably going to be now. It's the easiest. We have less people on island. It's
less things coming in.
Less things coming in, exactly. It's easier to push something like that through. Another thing, I mean, we've got a team now working on a non-reef safe sunscreen ban because we've got the stony coral tissue loss disease circling our island. And if there's ever a time to do it, it's when we don't have tourists. We're all here, we all can see the damage, and no excuse. Yeah, brilliantly said. That's
and I think
agree.
too we see the impact of less people in certain species having a positive, impact on reefs, on beaches and the like. But then with that in mind, though, just like the economics, we see that companies now reportedly doing better, and there are many arguments, one of the probably which is that companies have to sell to the local market. The market has to buy, from the local companies because of supply chain and availability and accessibility. That being the premise, Evie, from that and this notion that we're here, we're sort of all, in a sense, if you can imagine, we're marooned in a deserted island somewhere, and either we're working together to build a shelter and find food, or we're going to go to war and to the victor go to spoils, which is nothing. How do we get to a space where we're unified, we're seeing that our collective actions cause a consequence?
Yeah, so that's obviously super, super important. And I think COVID and the lockdowns and the fact that we didn't really have people here was, for a lot of people, kind of a form of reflection. And like Tiffany said, we were able to say, we can't use these excuses anymore. We can't say, we can't put in this plastic ban. We can say a plastic ban will positively benefit our island. And I think we can just all sort of realise that, we have no other choice, really. The actions we do now do directly impact our future. That's a big message from POF. And we really, it's that or nothing.
All right. Kiara, you want to jump in? Or?
Yeah, so one campaign that we're currently working on is Our Future is Not Single Use. And I think that message is a really strong one, especially for Caymanians. What you said earlier about inaction, I think that's a huge thing, especially with education. People in Cayman just aren't being educated of these issues, and they just don't understand why it's even a thing, because we're indoctrinated to think that there's an away. When you throw something away, it just magically disappears. And the government is doing now, they're capping the dump, thinking that all of that stuff is just going to disappear. All of that metal, like you said about cars, it could easily be recycled and made into a new car, but it's just it's just being thrown away. And I think education and action are one of the two main things that we need.
So, if I could then ask, whether this is where I think as adults and parents in particular, and educators specifically, since it's about education, how that role to play. You said, we're sort of rare to believe that it magically disappears. We're left to think that, I'll leave it here and someone else will take care of it. Where did that come from? How do we address that? And why is it that seems to be the mantra of the ages?
Well, I think to take the example of plastic, it just appeared in our society with a flick of a finger, It just started being used, plastic bottles, plastic cups, plastic plates. It was all just came out of nowhere. So I think that abrupt change in culture, especially, means that our parents and the parents before them are not realizing what they're doing, and now it's our responsibility as young people to educate our elders. That just doesn't make sense to me.
We realize what we're doing, but we're still not stopping it, though.
Right.
That's the problem.
But there's a sense of convenience, from what the three of you in particular have shared, and then it's almost the marketing, that convincing. I would almost go as far as the propaganda. We think of plastics when they were introduced in manufacturing. They're supposed to be this durable thing that was going to solve all the ills and make it, fast forward, from the bumpers in the cars to the furniture to everything, even the houses. We're now seeing it as an environmental challenge. So what was intended to be one thing has now proved to be something else. So the convenience, the belief system that we've adopted, this is better. I go back to your point, Thomas. The plastic bottle with the water versus the reusable. I think of the ground basket, I know the reusable, shopping bag versus the convenience of the plastic bag. I give you as a personal example, I'll never forget it. My sister returns from Germany, tells me, after a period of secondment there, we're going to the market 2 or 3 times a week. She's walking, she has a bag. Now this is, 30 plus years ago. She's a little older than I am, but still younger looking. And going into the stores in Cayman as a child with a ground basket was the norm. I went into a store as a young driver with a bag, to only be looked at like, what's wrong with him? Why is he bringing a bag in? In a very short time, we've gone from doing this thing that was a custom to now taking a bag in, wondering, are you going to steal? How did we get there?
Well, I think also, if you think about when, in comparison, cigarettes were introduced, everyone wanted a cigarette, everyone was smoking, and then we found out it was bad for us, it causes cancer, and we should cut it out. It was hard for people to accept, but I think we're getting there. Everyone's under the general knowledge that cigarettes are not good for you. But I also learned that it was similar with seatbelts. Seatbelts were to protect you, but when they were first introduced, people didn't want them. They were
cut you in half.
Yeah, they were against them. These are wrong, these are bad for you, but we were able to move forward and be educated that they're, So I think this is the exact same thing, and quite rightly so when Kiara said that when plastic was introduced, we didn't have that. We're still going through that, where we're still under this cloud of what is plastic.
Right.
How is it used? How can it be benefited? How can it be broken down? And so I think we just need to be educated on the next step of what plastic is.
So Mark, to you, and picked up on Thomas's point, you guys are the tag team. We see seatbelts, but we also see the manufacturing process. We know from what we've read, even from court cases across many jurisdictions, that they've decided that it's statistically better for them to do this thing at a lower quality standard, because the probability of a lawsuit going against them is only going to result in this much loss versus having to expend this amount of money to make the thing right in the first place. A 5-point seat belt, much better than a lap belt, but a shoulder belt adds value, right? The NASCAR and the Formula One racer isn't going to go in with a lap belt. So is it then that we're not, as regulators and as consumers, insisting that the quality in the manufacturing is there? There's no longer that disposable thing that, as it leaves the shelf, it's obsolete. How do we get there?
Well, I think I'm a big fan of Malcolm Gladwell's book from a number of years ago now called The Tipping Point. And it is those incremental changes and incremental changes, and he talks about in a number of contexts. But then you get to that point, and I think it's the Plastic-Free Cayman, it's Protect Our Future, it's the stuff that Tiffany, that you're doing, and people see that amazing table which started at the side of the road covered in crap, and the other one washed up on the beach, and became that wonderful work of art that you've created. And more aware of it. One of the things I think we want to do and would be an important part of a reuse center is space where you can bring people in and say, bring your vacuums. Because I'm old, and I can't tell you how many times someone says, the vacuum doesn't work. And then, it's got a hose, it's got a motor, and it's got some filters. Odds are it's a problem with one of those things, and they're not that difficult to fix.
But what if there is, though? Because I can think of, again, it's good to have this center. It's good to have the resources and the competence, the mechanical skill sets. But we buy these things and I say this carefully, not to be disparaging to anybody, but with clothing, for instance, there's the first quality and then there's the other stuff. Some of the things that we buy, they're just junk.
Yep.
I mean, this should be a crime to sell that to any market, but also for export. And so it ends up here.
I think just as society, we're as much to blame as well, because everyone wants the cheapest option, the most convenient option, and plenty of the more environmentally friendly options are currently more expensive. But we have to accept that if we want to move forward, we're going to have to bear that cost up front so that we can drive the investment into finding more sustainable technologies.
But people also need to be aware that if they're cutting out on so many plastics that they're purchasing, so many one-use things, that amount that they're saving can then go towards buying the environmentally safe products. And it's the give and take, it's saving on the things that aren't good so that you can purchase the things that are.
So the education,
And I mean, the easy things, the cheap plastic things that are made to break down, they don't just come with the price tag of what you actually pay for them. They come with the price tag that's going to be there when your great-grandchildren are around. That's the kind of crappy things we buy that you were talking about. They come with a huge kind of price tag that we haven't really wrapped our heads around. Plastic used to be marketed as this total miracle product. It was like this insanely good thing in society, and we haven't really gotten used to the fact yet that right now it's doing more harm than good.
Okay.
Cost to many is this monetary value, but the true costs of some other actions, of course, deviate away from money in its effect on the world around us.
That long-term cost, the initial opportunity cost, the impact on the environment, on our health, as you is sharing now, maybe it comes to a place where, again, marketing, for want of a better thing, we're convinced that this thing is good. Plastic is an excellent example because it was touted as this great, panacea for all manufacturing ills. But Mark, I mean, the older we get, the more we realize we didn't know anything.
Fossil fuels are another example. Same thing.
So then, it seems it comes down to will, political will, the will of the financial spend to say no. I'm not going to accept that inferior product. I'm not going to allow this. But then, if you can't afford, you buy what you can. How do we shift that? It's going to be generational, right? Thomas?
It's difficult, and it comes down to equity within society, and plenty of people who have already had the opportunities or have been lucky enough to do well for themselves aren't willing to give up what they to themselves deem that they've earned and they've got to buy themselves to other people. And this is, we had COP26, the United Nations State Climate Conference of the Parties, a few weeks ago. POF actually had a few students there. But you'd see the countries were talking about how, as developed countries, we now need to use what we've got to help those who are trying to get to the point we're at. And I mentioned fossil fuels a second ago, but the United States, Europe, and even China now have got to where they are because they've been able to exploit fossil fuels. We're now coming forward, and the US and Europe have been all right just going, no. You developing countries, you're not allowed to use fossil fuels. It's bad for the environment, when they've done the cumulative damage. So if you're in a position of privilege, you need to then help the people who have been unfortunate and not been able to be in the same situation you're in.
I wrote down our word privilege and see how long for one of us brought it up, right? I repeated to see. But is that a problem that we have now? The countries are the great example. They manage their GDP, and now they're dictating at great expense, economically, environmentally, and socially, what can and can't be done without themselves leading by example. Refusal to sign on board to the international accords, to adopt higher manufacturing standards, to demand from their own citizenry these things that would help. 50 million people in a jurisdiction doing something collectively could be more impactful than 5,000. But the one individual can make a difference. So as we sort of wrap up the discussion, could we just go around the table again, and then Mark, you and Tiffany will end up the call to action. How do we bring it about? If it's okay, Kiara, we'll start with you. You're talking, and as you said earlier, this isn't just about your generation. This isn't just about now. It's all of us. Good that you have a collective voice in a platform, and you're doing great things. But end of the day, if we don't do it together, we don't do it now, there'll be no tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. So what I said earlier about education, I think that's the main factor for everything, for life. With older generation Caymanians, they have no idea what's going on. And we as young people are learning the consequences of our parents' actions. And I think absolutely there needs to be a change in not only the stigma, but so that people actually know what they're doing and the choices that they're making every day has an impact, instead of just ignoring it and believing that there is a way.
Evie?
Yeah, totally. I think, the narrative needs to change, like Kiara was saying, about, what we believe about plastic and what we know about our environment. And it's just sort of about, everyone takes collective responsibility, but we all do what we can. The word equity is so important, because if everyone is educated on what their actions do and how they contribute negatively or positively to the environment, then we can all kind of make the change that is possible for us. Like you were saying, that's so much more powerful than one person dictating that everyone does the same thing.
Perfect.
I think it's really important, if there's something you're passionate about, to find some way to create a platform and share your voice. And Protect Our Future, we've always been open to new students joining us, and if there's anyone listening who's interested in learning more about the environment, come talk to us. But even if people want to start their own organisation, we've said from the beginning we're always happy to help people. We've learnt from our mistakes, we know where to go. But there's plenty of organisations on this island that are already doing work and action in different areas, and plenty that can be started up and can make a change if there's just that one person with the initiative to do so.
So Mark?
Well, I went to school and learned how to be a community developer, and so I'm a big fan of, again, that sort of collective impact, that looking at those disparate bits of points of light out there in a community and saying, let's work with ARC, and let's work with DEH, and let's work with DART, and because you have different roles, and if you find out from the developers that are going, yeah, actually we just want a place to take it, we don't have a place for it, we don't want to throw it out, but we don't have any storage, so you give us a place to take it, we're on board. But you bring people together, you have a facility conversation, and you look for how can we collaborate. There still might be bits done independently, but one of my goals as a community developer has always been, let's try and at least get together and see, probably we can agree on a bunch of stuff. So in that area, let's work together. You still be you with that lovely hair, and then I'll be me with the white hair, but there's a bunch of stuff we can do in the middle, and move this along.
Stronger together, as Evie shared.
Amen.
Miss Tiffany.
Yes, well, I think we need to encourage the Regen partners to collaborate with the community groups to create the reuse center now and start diverting these valuable materials. We all win if the center opens sooner rather than later, and in opening the reuse center now, there are truly no cons, and the pros are honestly endless. We encourage everyone to talk to your MPs and ask them to encourage the Regen partners to get moving now to set up a reuse center for our country and future generations. There are shipping containers and land available now, so we should make a move and start sooner. The dump could be reused to make this happen. We are also letting everyone know that it is time to apply the technology and knowledge that we have to benefit our country, and it's time to make more effective use of the surplus materials available here locally to sustain our island.
Well, this is where working together, we certainly can achieve much, and it can be beneficial now and in the future. Yeah, Evie, you and Kiara and Thomas, thanks for taking the lead and for reminding us that together, as the Christmas break, comes upon us, and as you go through your exams in school, may it be successful. But if you find time to reach out and you want to keep my company to help us to be appreciative of what we have, what we need to do collectively as Caymanians, we can make it better. I'm just a phone call away, all right? Well, listen, Nicole, if you keep in company with Spike, you can't be about all together. So. All the
Just
best.
don't talk politics.
That was my next question, wasn't it? But thank you both, and definitely looking to catch up with you again.
Yeah.
All right, to our listeners, the community share like much happens when we work together. We're going to pause and take a break. When we come back, we're going to welcome Miss Susie Soto to the studio to have a very enlightening, informative, and engaging discussion as she shares with us. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
As fate would have it, the early educational efforts of the islands were fostered on occasion by the arrival of shipwrecked seamen. The sister islands were no different, with the wreck of a mariner named Johnson, whose ship wrecked on Cayman Brac in 1863. Johnson would start a school which serviced not only children but adults too. In 1881, Jamaican Henry Hewitt set up the private school in State Bay, charging 9 pence per week. As education pursuits grew, it would be the Baptist Church which would lead the charge given the growth of their congregations in the sister islands. Between 1896 and 1906, a large schoolhouse would be built in the chapel at the creek, along with State Bay and Little Cayman.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
The technology sector is forecast to be one of the fastest growing industries in the next decade, with more jobs available than skilled people to fill them. Enterprise Cayman is helping to fill this void and grow the next generation of Caymanian innovators, giving young people access to high-quality learning experiences with the opportunity to pursue careers in technology and innovation sectors. Learn to code, how product development works, enter professional competitions, access high-tech resources, network with special economic zone industry professionals, and much, much more. Visit enterprisecayman.ky to find out more. Brought to you by Cayman Enterprise City.
We may be in Christmas shopping mode, but 'tis the flu season too. Savannah Pharmacy has immune system boosters for the entire family, with a range of vitamins and supplements. Their knowledgeable and courteous pharmacists are always available to offer the best advice and products. Remember, they are always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
A friendly holiday reminder. You can WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045. That's 929-5045.
Are you seeking a job in the hospitality industry? Discover over 200 opportunities such as food and beverage, culinary, and pool and beach attendant at the Tourism Job Fair on Thursday, 9th of December from 1 until 4 p.m. at the Governor's Ballroom at the Westin Grand Cayman, 7 Mile Beach Resort. Attend the job fair with a copy of your current resume in hand to speak directly with employers at some of the largest and most popular hotels and restaurants. Registration ahead of time is required. Register at jobfair.ourcayman.ky. Take the next steps to finding your next job.
Thank you, Cayman community, for leaning in to support the success of the 26th Rotary Central Music Extravaganza fundraiser event. Congratulations, lucky winners. Thank you, Radio Cayman, Cayman Turtle Center, Bon Vivant, Funky Tangs, Thai House Restaurant, Kirk Home Center, Kirk Office, Cox Lumber, A.L. Thompson's, Good Mood Food, Ala Kebabs, PD's Sports Bar and Grill, DMS Broadcasting, Uncle Bill's, Performers, Deja Vu, CNB, The Fabulous 68s, the Rotary Club of Cayman Brac, and every ticket seller, every ticket purchaser. Thank you for your supporting gifts, talents, and services. You are helping in service to change lives. Rotary Central thanks you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us. And we always have an opportunity here to engage, involve, inform, and sometimes even entertain our community. And sometimes the laughter is at my expense, but hey, when you're short, if people can't laugh with you, you're missing out. I have the wonderful company first to introduce Ms. Susie Soto. Hey, thanks so much for accepting the invitation to come on board. And you do a lot. You wear a lot of hats. You engage and involved in much, and it's always good fun.
It is. And I think I was here a few days ago.
I think you might have been when we look at the calendar. Unfortunately, I think that probably was like a year. It feels like it. The last week, when the things on hiatus, it seems like a week becomes a decade.
Oh, it's a week?
It might have been. I don't know.
Is it a week?
It could have been.
My heavens.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were talking about the turtlers and schooners.
Uh-huh.
We were talking about a history of turtlers and schooners to the Cayman Islands with Loxley and Jarris and a whole lot of other people. It was really good, 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And we've got Ali with us today from the Cayman Heart Fund.
Ali McBeal.
I always wanted to be a lawyer, but it never happened.
Listen, you're still young, right?
I've still got time. Yeah. Like, maybe it's going to be my third career.
I'm still working on my first.
Yeah. I think I'm on my third. It'll be my fourth. Yeah.
She's been a refreshing coordinator for the Cayman Heart Fund.
Is
that it? CEO?
Yeah, I'm working on making that title
I
change
think it should be CEO.
No, it's that sort of banter and that jovial approach that demonstrates the love and the passion that we have for something. And when we bring with it a sense of humility, it makes the effort that much more meaningful. It's good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I just ran into something I thought was an amazing story.
Oh, I thought it was a wall.
About 2 11-year-old girls, actually from Fiji, who are living here now. Mm-hmm. And they've become scuba divers, and they are absolutely adorable. And their names are, what do I do with my glasses? Well, now, Sterling, you don't wear glasses? No.
Only to read.
Me
or
too.
To see.
Okay. Bo and Fleur Slowly Dillon, and they started diving when they were 11, and they've gone 130 dives each. And they've become the youngest ever junior dive masters in the Cayman Islands. The girls earned their 5 PADI required specialties in PPB, drift, boat, naturalist, and photography. They've also completed the dive propulsion vehicle course. I didn't even know these courses were available. And I think it's exciting. I want to mention the scuba diving today because I hope to heavens we're all getting back into it. And I wanted to mention my Bob Soto scholarship And I do want to say, I've got a picture here. If you're showing any pictures, I don't know. Are we on a TV or anything?
Well, we have cameras that take us live on YouTube.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. I did bring these, and then I have 4 recipients of the Bob Soto Memorial Scuba Scholarship.
Try it again.
Soto Scuba Scholarship, giving the underwater okay sign. Cameron D. Hugh, Joshua Weaver, Rakeem Lashley, and Sean Jackson. And I'm so proud of them. Not only am I proud of them, but Sean Jackson is the great-grandson of Jackson from East End, who was a friend who wrote for The Compass. And he was a seaman for the Cayman Islands. Also, D. Hugh, Cameron is the great-grandson of Powery, Andrew Powery, who had that amazing story where he swam 20+ miles to save 4 of his crew. So, and that's in the Turtlers and Schooners book coming out. So, some exciting things there cross each other, as things do. You never know in Cayman when you're talking to somebody. You never know who they're related to, or who this, or who your daddy is.
I guess that's why, when they were asking who you're for, you realize how important that
I do
was.
it all the time.
Yeah, well, you're smart. You should.
I do it all the time. I did it with my 2 boys. That's how I found out that, I had an inkling that they had to, because when this book comes out, I want the young people to read it.
Yeah.
And we hope we can get it in the schools, because they need to know about their ancestors. They need to know about the culture, the maritime culture that Cayman Islands.
I think, Ali, from that perspective, we see the melding of cultures. We see the growing overlap of peoples and their passions. And I think within the Cayman context, it's so easy sometimes to appreciate the significance of who we are. But then we tend to easily to forget as well.
Yeah, it's good to have these reminders. I think people generally are interested in what their background is. I mean, there's all these amazing TV shows now, Who Do You Think You Are?, where they take famous people and they look at what their family ancestry is like. It's a big thing, Ancestry.com, and people wanting to find out what their heritage is. And when we go back, we usually find we have more in common with people. We're connected with people across nationalities, across
That's
cultures.
True. I have to
Because actually, who you for... And my family's Scottish, so that's very similar to what we'd say in Scotland. It's a who you're for, and it's where you're from. And people would say, I'm for Fair Isle. I'm from the islands in Scotland. So it's very, very similar. Yeah.
I think that's the importance of it, Susie.
I can't forget about Bob's book.
No.
I think that's what I came in to talk about, right?
Hey, we make the space.
Extraordinary Adventures, Bob Soto's Scuba Pioneer. Treasure diver, adventure seekers, sailors, maritime history lovers. I'll be signing books on Wednesday, December 15th from 11 to 3 at, may I mention, Cayman Bay Farmers and Artisans Market. That's amazing. I did go to the other one, but I've created a little problem with walking, so... I just will gimp up to the thing on the 15th.
You can still write.
I can still write. I'll be there. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to it. And, Bob's book is full of Cayman maritime history. So from when he was born, and he was born in Cuba in 2 years, and then when he came here, and the amazing early days of Cayman with the turtlers and with the men going to sea, the amazing men going to sea.
But see, and I've not just had the watching the distinct pleasure with Mr. Loxton on most occasions to have Mr. Bob Soto in our studio as a guest, right? But to know of him from a distance, of interacting with him personally, he epitomizes men of his era, him, my father, and others who traveled,
right?
And Mr. Bob. Okay, his birth in Cuba only reminds us of the strong connection that West Bay, in particular Cayman in general, has with Cuba, the Bay Islands, and that flair that has come from being in that era, that industriousness, his absolute resolve to do certain things. It shows you people who are inclined out of necessity, but they have the aptitude. Now,
yes, they did.
Yeah, they do.
They did and do.
They did, yeah. and it makes us as
the boat builders. The stories in this book about the boat builders, and what they did, and I mean, over 50 feet, 100 feet, and some amazing ships. And, of course, the one still in Key West, the Western Union, that we're all longing to have come back.
But is that then, and maybe as we look at sort of interplay with the hard fun and everything else, right? We look that in the Cayman context, we have many people, whether they've been here for generations, a few decades, or they've only recently arrived. I mean, many have come to the shores following Ivan, some even more recent. But we see that there's a charitable giving nature, a willingness to participate and to contribute. But we also are probably mindful that if we, as our 3 students shared earlier, if we don't recognize the urgency and the immediacy of working together and working together now, we won't have.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Maybe it's to do with the mentality of sailing. You rely on each other to sail a boat, and your lives at stake all the time out at sea. It's a perilous career to have. Is it still the most perilous? Is it farming then seamen, or seamen then farming?
Well, seamen. The farmers can come in from the storm. The seamen can't.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a sailing challenge once with work, and I thought I'd be relaxing on the boat with my G&T. It wasn't like that at all. I actually had to hang off the boat and head in the water at times. But yeah, you had to work together as a team, otherwise you wouldn't get anywhere. And if you didn't work together as a team, someone's life would be at stake.
It's a great team building exercise.
Exactly.
And I think our maritime heritage, or the fact that we are an island, I mean, I'm not sure where you go in Cayman, it would be almost impossible not to see or hear the sea. With that in mind, just a fishing trip, just, friends go out for a few hours, or for those who may adventure out for, a few days, overnight fishing. It's just fishing. You got a powered boat, you don't have to worry about anything else. But that act of not working together, or not being consciously connected and aware of each other, can be perilous. It can also lead to a less than, wonderful experience.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So with that in mind, as we look at Cayman now, we look at the things that have transpired. I joke and say last year was a long century, but it feels like forever. It feels like it has created within us this paradigm shift for the negative, that we're now growingly become divided, perhaps conditioned to do certain things that are not always positive. How do we bring us back together, Miss Susie?
I'm hoping that some of this will bring us back together, will bring the seamen back together. I'd like to see those turtlers that are still living. I'd like to see a luncheon or something in their honor and bring them back. And I mean, I have to mention Sam Powry. It's Sam Abel. I know him as Sam, but everybody knows him as Abel. But I treasure my moments that I've been visiting with him, sitting and talking about his experiences and about his brother, Andrew, and his stories are so incredible.
Well, you see, it's that level of respect and humility that they sort of embodied, but they're also a true example, have exhibited for us.
Yes, I think, too. I think Loxley isn't here now, so I'm wondering about the commercials.
You know what? You did that worry into Susan, but we're going to go for a commercial break. I like how, you see how people get easily conditioned and trained? All right, so Miss Susan makes life easy. We're going to pause and take that break as, Miss Susan sort of reminds us. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion.
All right, Susan.
And we invite you to be a part of it. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
CG Britke would like to wish our clients, their families, our staff, and our communities a happy holiday. In this time of celebration, let us remember what this past year has taught us. That we can be in different rooms, different homes, or on different islands, yet never feel apart. Because we are here for each other and stronger together. We look forward to the new year, to serving your insurance needs, and always putting people first. Happy holidays from our CG Britke family to yours.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Park your car this New Year's Eve and ride the Purple Ribbon Bus. It's free. Be safe and drink responsibly.
Arrive alive 345. Take the pledge, designate a driver, or ride the Purple Ribbon Bus on New Year's Eve. This message is brought to you by the National Drug Council and Radio Cayman. Are you planning a social, an office party, or event over the holiday season? Make the most of your holiday party and leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway Box to Go, with the option of a 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. Cater your holiday parties with Subway. Visit subway.ky for menu options. Subway, eat fresh.
Savannah Pharmacy. Shop local and get a head start on your Christmas shopping. For ladies' handbags, clothes, shoes, fragrance, candles, and cosmetics with the newest Farmhouse Fresh line of skincare. For the gentlemen, clothes, shoes, fragrances, gift sets, and toys and games for the kids. Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they are always just around the corner with everything your family needs. And convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
A friendly holiday reminder. You can WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045. That's 929-5045.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Please be advised that the pension contribution holiday has been extended until 31st of March, 2022. Employers and plan members should ensure arrangements are in place for salary deductions and remittance following this date. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan, keeping you informed. For further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. We're here for you.
Prospect residents are invited to a free vaccination clinic by the Honorable Minister for Health and Wellness, Ms. Sabrina Turner, Thursday, December 9th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at her constituency office at number 33 Marina Drive, Prospect. For more information on the vaccination clinic, call 746-9314.
Shopping local just got tastier. Save the date, Saturday, December 11th. Pure Art Gallery and Gifts. Treats for shoppers. Indulge in your island favorite Tortuga cakes and treats for the kids. Gorgeous local jewelry, household items, paintings, prints, ornaments. Perfect for that secret Santa gift. And to all of the island Santas shopping for Mrs. Claus, couldn't be any easier. The charming Cayman Cottage Pure Art Gallery and Gifts on South Church Street is open 9 to 5, Monday through Saturday for your holiday shopping in Grand Cayman.
More ways to win big this Christmas. The more you watch, listen, and stream your favorite Digicel apps, the more chances you have to win from thousands of prizes. Enter to win the grand prizes of US $10,000 cash, US $5,000 cash, or a Digicel family pack with 4 smartphones and free service for a year. Simply listen to your favorite Christmas carols in D Music, watch movies in Play Go, live sports in Sportsmax, or connect with friends in BIP and join BIP Rewards channel for daily prizes. Claim your guaranteed prize every Saturday. Shake to win in the My Digicel app today. Digicel, better together this Christmas.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. It's always good to have, if she'd allow me to say, icons like Miss Susie Soter in the studio to remind us of the blessings and the beauty and the bounty that is the Cayman Islands, and when she brings along the new CEO, Miss Ali.
Well, I've been there a while now. I just gave myself a promotion.
Hey, we did it the last time, we confirmed it today. But it is that sort of spirit of, that imbues the volunteers, but it's also that notion and nature of who we are and what we're doing because we can, because we want to. And as Ms. Susie was sharing, people like Bob Soto reminds us, through his actions that we do, not because of any reward or recognition, but because it is necessary. And I think the stories he shared, whether it was part of the Home Guard or even later times starting a business and being the pioneer within the scuba diving industry, Miss Susie. And I'm just gonna have fun with you today. But sure, add you.
I'm hoping we could get Heber Arch to call in maybe about the book.
Well, I'll get Mr. Thomas to call Mr. Dick, and then he can call Mr. Heber. Yeah. It's going to happen now. It's like
that would be good.
Telephone connection.
Because I can't do it right here.
No.
I don't know how to do it. I'm sitting here poking, and you're trying to get me in trouble.
No. I'm just.
It's all right.
Miss Susie is the most playful, youthful person. I tell you, Jimmy and the rest of them. No wonder they stay young and energetic. You go and do your thing. Let's talk to Miss Ali about the Heart Fund, and then we come back and read from the book. You want to do that?
Yes, sir.
Let's do that, Mom.
Yep.
And then we take a swim later.
You got it. No, I did it this morning.
We can do it again later.
Yeah, I've even got Siri on here, and I'm trying to shut my phone off. I don't know how. This thing is a nightmare for us older people. For us,
something went wrong.
That was her. That was Siri.
Was she referring to elections? I mean, in the U.S., something went wrong.
I love it.
I'll just tease. But
Ali, if you can, take it.
Well, okay, so Miss Ali.
We're all laughing too much now.
But isn't that the beauty of life, right? We take ourselves sometimes too seriously. I mean, there are things and times when we should be serious about things, but life is about laughter and love, to live and to learn, and that way we get a chance to really appreciate. And I think Cayman gives us that time. I'm glad for those times recently where I could go and watch the sunset, not because I wanted to, or not even necessarily because I had time, but because I was reminded of the importance and the invitation. Hey, take 5 minutes, watch the sun go down. Take an extra 5 minutes and enjoy, that twilight. And we don't.
Yeah, I think it's hard for us because sometimes you get tunnel vision with all the things you're working on. Miss Susie, you must have had that with the book. So busy with a certain project and so passionate about getting it done. And
True, I was miserable.
Cayman's full of very passionate dedicated people to their careers and their lives, and it has an impact on our health. And I think after the last year and a half, we're all much more aware of our health and our well-being and wellness and how important it is. So taking that time for yourself, taking a breath, taking more relaxed attitude to taking time and watching a sunset, or stretching, breathing, going for a morning swim if you can fit it in. All these things would be good for us, and that's what we need to remember, and that's what the Heart Fund is always trying to remind people about.
And it's those lifestyle choices. I mean, when we started talking about Heart Fund in the very early days, it's sort of the conceptualization of it. I remember those first meetings that we had.
You're one of our heart survivors.
Yeah, it's good to have a heart.
Yep, it's good to have a heart.
You can't function without one, unfortunately.
I think back to even Dickens and. Not my favorite author for different reasons, and was it Hard Times? I think it was one of his novels, and Bounderby and Young Thomas or whatever the character was, and it almost just existed, and of course he had a heart because without it he can't function. But the heart is more than that. The heart is love. The heart is life, and the heart takes a beating sometimes. And
well, you have to keep your heart ticking in a positive way, and I think in hard times, the teachers and the parents didn't, it was much more about, it was Mr. Gradgrind, wasn't it? So it was like, can't have flowers on the carpets because flowers don't grow on carpets. It's, it took away the joy of life, and by taking away the joy of life, people's health and well-being and physical and mental health suffered.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
I think that's it. We all have to find
That's
the
true.
things we're passionate about and the things that give us joy and focus on those without forgetting the work. The
Yeah.
work has to get
Yes,
done.
well, and
But,
then people with the heart attacks, with heart problems, cardiac problems, are very serious. And there's a group of them we like to honor, our heart heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're coming up. Would you like to speak a little bit about our heart heroes?
So everyone knows that Miss Susie is our founder at the Heart Fund. It's
A red dress
established-
fanatic.
Yeah, a red dress fanatic and a great supporter of ours. So founded the Heart Fund back in 2007 because you yourself were a heart survivor and one of our first heart heroes. And the Heart Heroes Awards with the Cayman Heart Fund is an annual program to raise awareness about those heart issues. So we recognise individuals in the community that have overcome quite serious cardiovascular health problems sometimes. And it's a good reminder for the population in general, because sometimes we don't get a second chance with heart issues. They can be critical at the moment. And if you're not aware of a problem, you're quite often not aware of a problem before it becomes that critical nature. So it's reminding people to, go to their physician, get themselves checked out, know their numbers, take the medication, and don't let it slide just because it's coming up to the holidays and you think I'll do it in the new year.
Yeah.
It's we've got to take care of ourselves now.
Tickets are for sale.
Oh yes,
No, I think
I'm always
we
worried
could-
about people's health.
I
rather
think
than-
we need
let's,
to tell them about when they
yeah,
could
so we
get tickets
have a
online.
lunch every year. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we didn't manage to have one in 2021. So 2022 is going to be a big celebration for us. So it's in February 18th on a Friday during Heart Awareness Month. Obviously, when we get to February and Valentine's Day, it's a good chance for all of us to remember about the people that we love, but also our own hearts, and all hearts in general. And so we have an annual awards luncheon. It's in the new year, going to be on Friday 18th of February at the Marriott Ballroom, 11:30 to 2:30. We have tickets for sale on Eventpro, either individual tickets, 125 Cayman, or a table of 8 for $1,000. So nice socially distanced tables in the Marriott, applying by all the regulations. And we'll hear some incredible stories. There'll be some live entertainment and some incredible stories from individuals in the community that have suffered cardiovascular health crises and how they've overcome them. And it really is those inspirational tales from people in the community that opens people's eyes to how important it is to take care of your heart, because we don't want those critical events to happen to you. We want your hearts to keep beating as long as possible, because there's a lot of life out there for people still to live.
Don't become a statistic and don't ignore it. And
Yeah.
we've done that.
It's our number one killer in Cayman.
Silently.
Still is,
Indeedly.
and worldwide.
Right.
And worldwide.
Yeah, and heart health has come along leaps and bounds in years. Medical science can do so much for hearts. We can repair tiny babies' heart problems when they're just born. We can do open heart surgery and fix valves and replace valves and give people lots and lots of life. But getting people to realise that cardiovascular health is still the world's biggest health problem, and still Cayman's biggest health problem, is the hardest thing. Everyone has a heart inside them that's beating. Every loved one you have has a heart, and we need to care about them.
All right. So after our break, we'll welcome some callers. We'll talk more with Susie and Miss Ali. And we invite you to stay tuned and join us right after the break.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Enterprise Cayman Summer Internship Program is now open for applications. The program is for Caymanians and residents of the Cayman Islands aged between 18 and 25, and placements run for 2 to 3 months. The deadline to apply to the 2022 Enterprise Cayman Internship Program is March 31st, 2022. For more information and queries, contact Innovate at enterprisecayman.ky. In international news, the share of wealth owned by the world's richest people soared during the COVID pandemic, a major study on inequality has found. The World Inequality Report said that 2020 saw the steepest increase in billionaires' wealth on record. Meanwhile, 100 million people sank into extreme poverty, the report from the Paris-based World Inequality Lab said. The richest 10% of the population now takes 52% of global income, and the poorest half just 8%. A U.S. billionaire has been banned for life from buying antiquities after an investigation found that items he owned had been looted and illegally smuggled. Michael Steinhardt has surrendered treasures worth $70 million as part of a deal which means he will not face criminal charges. The ban on the hedge fund pioneer acquiring more antiquities was the first of its kind, prosecutors said. Drake's 2 Grammy nominations for 2022 have been withdrawn from the official website. According to reports, the decision was made at the request of Drake and his management. The reasons for this are currently unclear, with the rapper's representatives not yet responding to a request for comment. Drake was one of 5 nominees for Best Rap Album and for Best Rap Performance. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure to have Mrs. Susie Soto in the studio with us, and if she brings along her CEO of the Heart Fund, Mr. Hallis, it makes life much better. As we continue our discussion, I think we have a caller who has been graciously and patiently just waiting in the wings. Let's go to the phones. Huh? Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon, man. How are you today?
Very good. Good afternoon, Mr. Susie.
Hi. How are you?
I am awesome. Anytime I hear your voices, it puts a smile on my face.
Oh, I hope so.
And it makes my mouth water for the good food you used to have.
Oh, yeah.
But when I listen to her with her fun, I can only think of one song, and I'm going to play you a little clip of it.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
The Sea Captains? What?
Oops. Too much fun.
Too much fun, huh? Oh, man.
I don't know.
But
it is really good. I don't think Miss Susie had a dull day in her life.
No, that's probably true. That's probably true. I've had some family come stay with me. There's never a dull moment.
I like to give roses while you're alive.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for that.
I like to keep it positive. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome.
God bless you.
And that call, I think, epitomizes the notion of appreciation now, recognition.
Yeah, that's nice. That's very sweet.
And I think we need to do that more, because that gives us, the heart sometimes responds.
We have so many wonderful people here. If people would just, sometimes you'll find something interesting. Like I was mentioning those two twins, twins.
So you have two twins before?
because I took time enough to talk to the mother and found something interesting. The conversations don't have to be boring or about the weather, because you look at somebody and you can see in their eyes they've got something more interesting to say.
Yeah.
But I as you know, Bob's brothers went on The Hustler, and they were lost. One at 16 and one at 21, and that was a tragedy with The Hustler. I think it was 13 that went down, and in 1940. I don't have my notes with me right now, but I think my memory's pretty good. But I wanted to. One of the things that I got a hold of was a letter from Captain Connolly about Captain Laurie and the R.L. Hustler, and it so touched me. I cried, and I've given it to big men, and they've cried, and so I'd just like to start to read just a tiny little bit of it. Captain Connolly from East End, Ship of all ships, the letter starts, and it was the All AA Radium, and the letter was sent from Cristobal Canal Zone, and it was written New Year's Day, 1941. And it starts out like this, and the writing of these Caymanian men was incredible. It starts out, the acting commissioner of the Cayman Islands, Your Honor, a happy day. Happy day to you, sir. I wish to write you and a story of the ill-fated hustler and myself, in which I am asking of you, sir, to have it read in every town and village by some of your intelligent clerks. How I came to save myself and crew and every father, every mother, every loving brother, every loving sister, and every true friend that hears my letter read. It must bring tears into their eyes. But before going any further, I must make mention to you that some of my story will not be interesting to you, but to get to the interesting part, I have to write the disinteresting part. And that's how it begins. And it's so beautiful. And then at the end, because there was controversy, of course, people are upset, and this, because of what happened and all the lives lost. He puts in here something. The people over here call me conqueror for what I have passed through, but I give myself no credit. Only remember the hard men. When I walk in the U.S. Navy commissary store, the commander, who is my friend, Lieutenant Commander McKay, he cried out loud to Mr. McKay, "Connolly is here." That stopped the buying, and they came running to me. This is when he was down there in where did I say, Cristobal. Anyway, he writes to honor his friend because he didn't want people saying bad things about me. I told the commander, if you were alive, you would have written to us. We have sent out Plano to Serena Bank to look for you, planes, and they came back and could not find you weren't there. Anyway, it goes on, and it's broken English, and right now it's a little hard to see it the way it's written, but the way it was written is in the book. Mm-hmm. So that's just one of the little parts I wanted to read.
Yeah. And you are right
about him.
All right, Mr. Souza, we do have a caller online as well.
All right. Okay.
As we speak to Miss Ali and Miss Souza, let's go to the phones. Good afternoon, welcome.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Very well. How about you?
Running from the COVID.
Yeah. Coming in from the cold as well,
huh? Yeah, running from cold. No, I don't worry about the cold. I worry about COVID.
Okay.
I would just like to say something to Miss Susie about Mr. Bob Soto. It has nothing much to do with the sea, actually. I don't. But I remember one Sunday night, a long time ago, maybe 20-odd years ago, taking my baby to the hospital, around about 9-ish, 9:15, maybe even 9:30, because I think I left home about 9 o'clock, and I was walking for about 15 minutes or so. Anyway, taking my baby to the hospital, ball in my eyes because he was not loud, but just walking and crying. I guess every mother knew those silent tears. Just walking and crying at night because I didn't know what was wrong with my baby. This car pulled up alongside me, and I knew it was him because everybody knew him, to see. He said, "Mom, you want a ride?" I said, yes, sir. He said, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm going to Georgetown Hospital." He said, "I go in there too." So he took me. Then I got inside. I didn't see any. He didn't sign in. I didn't see anybody that might have been like his say friend, family, worker. I didn't see anybody like that. But anyway, I was there a little while. They hadn't called me yet. And he asked me, "Well, how are you getting home?" I said, "Sir, I don't know." And he insisted that he should carry me home. He would wait for me. And, hospital waits, even today, sometimes they're not like every 15 minutes. But he insisted on taking me home. Well, no, I kind of persuaded him that, I could make it. It would be okay. And then another guardian angel in a police car picked me up and dropped me home. But I just wanted to say that about him, Not only was he brilliant at his trade and, being a Caymanian and being a businessman, but he had such humanity because he didn't know me. I recognized him. He didn't know me. And then, he didn't just say, well, okay, we're here now. He came back and he asked me how I would be getting home with my baby. And
that is such a sweet story. Thank you.
I wanted to say that when I hear you on the radio, but today was a good time because it's talking about the sea and so on and so forth.
Oh, I appreciate that story.
Hey, thanks so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And see, that is...
And how old's that baby now?
That baby now is, 20 years ago, and the baby was in her arms.
Oh, God,
love him. I carried her 4, so let's say 27.
That's what it, sure, that's Cayman. That's Cayman. There's the culture, Cayman.
Yeah. So we have another call, Miss Susan? Okay. Shall I stay there, Mom?
Cayman.
Okay. All right, but that's I think what made people like him, that makes the society like what we have, that caring, that compassion, that concern. But it's also the fact that there was an inherent safety and a sense of community. And I think through the actions of the Heart Fund, for instance, as an example, we're inviting people to look after their health. We're providing resources that are invaluable for all, not just for some, to look after our health, to be able to understand the importance of proper diet, nutrition, exercise, sleep. We talk about stress and don't even appreciate how much that release of cortisol in our body is doing as a result of that increased stress. So maybe through Ms. Ali, so that we can ask the Heart Fund's initiatives, the Heart Champions and the Heart Heroes that we have. The gala in February is only just one more public example of the importance of looking after our heart health.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big awareness and educational program to remind people to be aware of their heart health. But the Heart Fund obviously covers lots of different support, educational assistance programs to help the community. And I'm not sure how well known those are. I'm working on that. But if you want to hear more about some of those, I can talk about them. One of the biggest ones is our AED program, so providing defibrillators to the community. We've been doing that since 2009. So if people suffer a sudden cardiac arrest, that's like a portable robotic paramedic right there when you need it to jumpstart somebody's heart. And we sell those, and we're obviously a non-profit organisation, so all of the proceeds from that go into donating them to where they're needed in the community. So all the government schools, all the mobile police units and the helicopter, they've all benefited from donations from the Heart Fund, so that they're there if anyone in the community needs them, and we're working to place them in more places as well.
And we're working right now to do the ladies' surgery.
Yeah, one of the biggest, actually going back to Cuba, Cuba's a thing, we have financial assistance schemes for people in need with cardiovascular health issues. We have a paediatric scheme, but we recently, post-COVID, launched a scheme to help adults. And we're fundraising for a lady called Miss Alida Perez Camejo, a Cuban national who's here in the Cayman Islands as a refugee, and she urgently needs a heart surgery, and we're working to fundraise for that cost. So actually you can go to our Go Get Funding page, gogetfunding.com, All Hearts Matter campaign. We're actually doing a Christmas draw. We've been given some wonderful prizes from organisations in the community. So if you donate to that campaign, all the proceeds from that campaign go to Miss Alida's surgery to try and save her life.
I wonder to what extent, like many health issues, how we as a community may attach a level of stigma to people who have been affected by it. I wonder how we as the individuals may not want sometimes to share that, because maybe our health insurance or life insurance or prospective employment or familial relations, different things that we may be sort of feel as if, not necessarily that it will be, but may feel ostracized or stigmatized. I wonder.
This year I've got a very special lady who's agreed to come on and explain the health, women's heart cardiac problems sometimes are ignored. And this is a lovely, lovely, special woman. And she's agreed to come and tell that she was recommended for some pills by the cardiac doctor, and she didn't take them, didn't take the advice, and then suffered a severe stroke. And she's going to tell her story, which I find very touching because she's extremely special, and what has happened to her since, because there was an 8-hour window before she could get any help. And to hear that story will remind people that when they do go to their doctor and they are recommended to take medicine, that they take it and prevent something like what's happened to her, because she is partly paralyzed for life. And just to take those 2 little pills, I think it was.
Well, see, that speaks to a number of things. Prevention is better than a cure. Yeah. It's also early detection. But it's a willingness to take advice as offered. But then the accessibility, because some of us, for different reasons, maybe we don't think we have the time, we don't have the finances, the insurance, we don't go to the physicians, we don't get that regular checkup.
A lot of women say, oh, I'm having a little pain, indigestion, it's just indigestion. I've got to get dinner ready for the kids and then get the kids to bed and and then not tired, fall in bed. And they ignore themselves a lot of times. So a lot of times women do that. And their signs and symptoms are sometimes different. Now, the elephant sitting on the chest is a really good one. Most men related to that one, but I had an elephant on my chest. I know what it feels like, and it's exactly correct. And so, but some women ignore it.
Right. We have the final break, very short. We're segment. We'll come back through you, Ms. Susie. We'll continue to share with the listeners. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
We may be in Christmas shopping mode, but 'tis the flu season too. Savannah Pharmacy has immune system boosters for the entire family with a range of vitamins and supplements. Their knowledgeable and courteous pharmacists are always available to offer the best advice and products. Remember, they are always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
A friendly holiday reminder. You can WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045. That's 929-5045.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands. The ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom. The land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Kirk Freeport's $40,000 Christmas sweepstakes is back. Once again, simply spend $100 at your favorite Kirk Freeport store, and you could win one of 3 $5,000 cash prizes, one of 5 $1,000 cash prizes, and many other great prizes throughout December. All purchases of $100 before noon on Christmas Eve qualify for all remaining prize draws. And don't forget the annual Kirk Freeport Rolex Watch prize draw for all entries, held on January 4th. Full details on KirkFreeport.com. Merry Christmas from everyone at Kirk Freeport.
The community is reminded to ensure the proper disposal of used LFT kits. Place the used LFT and all items into the marked bag with the biohazard yellow triangle symbol provided with the kit, and then discard in the garbage bin. For more information on waste disposal tips, visit the DEH website at www.deh.gov.ky or their Facebook page or call 949-6696.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us. It's never a dull moment, as I called the shared earlier with Miss Susie Soto. And, she, whether it's a swim in the morning or the afternoon bike ride or that siesta.
I can't bike ride.
Right?
I seem to have fractured my kneecap. So I've got to stop that. I got to stop a few other things, too.
This is a family show, Miss Susie. Just kidding. But it's that love for life, that
joy. It's joy.
The joy.
It's joy. And faith.
Yeah.
Faith and joy and positivity. And when there's negative things that come to try and pray and get strength to get through the negativism. And at one time I told Robert, I said, this is no negative in the house. There will be no negatives in the house. It's positive. Keep it positive, because you pray and ask for prayers and you ask for help.
Yeah.
And then you need to let God do His work and not get in His way. Sometimes some people get in His way. They try to do what they
tell Him what to do.
What they're asking Him to do. So part of that, I think, is having faith.
But as you share that faith, that joy, and that positivity, that sort of epitomizes the life of the seafarer. Because as Ali was sharing, they're out at sea. They understand the perils. They understand, the realities of the weather, and they're affected constantly.
Yes. Well, when we were here the other day, I think it was what one of the seamen was telling us on Sundays. And many of the schooners that could get together in the catboats, they would get together and they'd have a service. They'd have a little service on the ships, and
that prayer, praise, and fellowship.
Yes. Yes. So, what was the saying? How does it go if you're on the sea? I forget that saying now. Maybe one of the seamen Sam could call. Maybe Sam Powery could call me and remind me of that saying. There's no seaman that has not got faith.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, it is something that I think maybe within all societies, but certainly evident within the Cayman context, the fact that you are mindful, that you are at the mercy of nature. You are, your life is intertwined with them, your livelihood, your survival. So with where we are, and I am cognizant that we can always chat for hours on end without anything, but trying to be mindful of the 6 or so minutes remaining. It is Christmas. It is a time that we look at our seafaring heritage. It is a time when we look at what is happening and the lifestyle of our seafarers, their diet, but their physical activity to survive, made them physically strong, gave them cardiovascular strength. And in today's world, we are seated a lot. We only exercise we get is probably jumping to conclusions.
True. Very good.
That's my joke for today.
You ought to be a comedian.
I'll do that in my next job.
Part-time.
Maybe get paid not to. Not in a singer. But with that, we have so much to be thankful for.
Oh, we do. We're living in the most wonderful place on earth. I know Hallie's been here, 7 years?
6 in January.
6. Anyway, it's lovely to have people like you come and share and get into the culture. And she's looking into everything. She's not just taking it for granted, and she's doing something. and helping the community. So I take my hat off. And there's many like Ali. No, not that many, but a few.
Cayman has a really big society culture. There's a strong non-profit organisation culture. Before the Heart Fund, I was secretary of Pink Ladies for a couple of years. Still am an active Pink Lady at the Bazaar just a couple of weeks ago.
But that's you.
Well, no, there's lots of people like me, I think. Lots of charitable giving in the Cayman Islands, lots of people wanting to help out, help their neighbour, help people in need, and that's a lovely sense of community that everyone has here.
Because I can't stand it with people that say, there's nothing to do here.
There's always volunteering.
I've been here from 63, 61, and I have yet to find nothing to do.
Actually, one of the things we did talk about in the Pink Ladies was doing a matchmaking for voluntary organisations and people who wanted to volunteer. That's something we'd always talked about. But lots of organisations out there, and you can give as much as you can. And if you can't give financially, you can always give time. And they're both equally good things to give. If people are very, very busy and focus on their careers and just want to give funds, that's entirely brilliant. There's people that work for those organisations that will make sure those funds go to good use. If you don't and you want to give your time, or you even want just to give a prayer, that is also good too. So everyone doing what they can, and Christmas is a lovely time for that. You always see lots and lots of charitable giving in Cayman around the holidays. As it cost you lesser doing a Toys for Tots drive, I just heard on the radio today. Lots of places that will do things like that. We're doing Miss Alida's campaign. Lots of the other charities are active all year round, but especially this time of year, it kind of focuses attention in that way.
That spirit of giving, as Ali shared, is important because we give. I mean, you've been volunteering, you've been championing many causes.
Yes, I think. Yes, the International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame, the Capo Club, and the Cayman Maritime Heritage Foundation. And we do a lot of work there, and shout out to all the guys. Mark was just here before, who was a member of the Capo Club for a while. And Jareth Miller gives a lot of time, and Kem Jackson, Loxley, Banks, they give a lot of time for the Capo, trying to revive, the young people to get them interested in Capo. And Kem makes these little catboats that are amazing. I want one, Kem, if you're listening. He's listening to TV, I think, but whatever. No, he's not listening to TV. He's out working on the catboats, to tell you the truth. But, and Jarrett's, I hope he's okay out there, and look forward to getting the book, History of Turtlers and Schooners of the Cayman Islands, getting it out sometime in the first of the year. So after Mr. Miller feels better, he's gone through some bad times, so prayers for him.
I think that's where this community in particular, when you put things in context, we're so appreciative, and there's so much that we all can give, whether it's Ali saying your time, your talent, your treasure. You're contributing in such an invaluable way. And for many, they need an extra pair of hands for that few hours every week or every month. It'll go a long way. It'll have a meaningful, positive, profound impact on people's lives. So,
see, the sea is so wonderful. I mean, Bob and I took a trip for a year and a half sailing, just the two of us and our Doberman, Rambo Soto, and it was an amazing 37-foot shucker schooner, or not schooner, shucker sailboat.
Wow.
And me and the dog were starting to have trouble getting on and off, so we traded it in and got a motor, something with motors.
But that's spirit of adventure. But
a year and a half. Yeah. It was amazing.
That's a book in the making.
It is in the book. It is a chapter in the book. And at one point, Renee Soto was with us, and I said, Renee, when you go home, you tell everybody it's all wonderful. I said, you don't mention all these problems we're having, because I don't want them to think it's, all the work it is, but it is a lot of work. But Bob was an amazing sailor, and he was very, very cautious and weather-minded, and there were times when we were rolling along. I can remember on the south coast of Puerto Rico when we were flying, and it was beautiful, and we were over, and it was so exciting. And he said, we're going into the next port. It wasn't planned, and I said, oh, do we have to? Do we have to? Yes, we have to. So, he was very cautious. He respected the sea.
Yeah.
The sea you must respect.
Yeah.
And people, when they're going out from here, you must respect the sea. You must let people know when you're going out in a boat, no matter what. And you've got to have the life jackets with you, and you've got to have water, and don't risk it. Don't
take it for granted. I mean, even going across the North Sound, understand.
Yep.
And that is maybe why people that came, my father and others, why they understood it. They had that respect. It didn't matter whether they were, pulling out of port and going to be at sea for months on end, or whether they were just going out with the family for a couple of hours. They were prepared, they were cautious, they were respectful, and they valued every soul on board, and they wanted to get them back safely, not just have a good time, and maybe more of us could learn that.
Iron Men and wooden chips.
Well, Ms. Susie, we always appreciate you coming across. So as we close the discussion, any sort of final thoughts you may want to leave with us, and of course Ms. Ali as well?
Basically, that's my thought, that this island was made with iron men, wooden ships, and the women that was behind them carrying on, and in incredible ways. They carried on as men would do if they were there. And so it's an amazing place to live, and I'm thankful I've had a part of the history and the culture is close to my heart.
Well, you know what? You find a place that you love, you make an indelible impression, you make an invaluable contribution, you become one, with space.
The Tradition Monument was a big one, with 477 Caymanians lost at sea.
Mm-hmm. There's so much that's left to be told, but as we embrace it, Miss Ali, we bring with us, what we have, and then we add to what exists, and then we leave with a wonderful cornucopia. So, your thoughts, Miss Ali?
I mean, Cayman's where we've chosen to make our lives right now, and it's lovely to be part of this community and being contributing to it in a positive way. So it's wonderful to be here representing the Cayman Heart Fund. Really enjoying it and loving working with Miss Susie. So thank you for bringing me along today.
She's a blessing.
Thank you for letting me talk about our events coming up. Maybe I can come back in February for Heart Awareness Month and talk more about what we're doing then.
Of course, well, we will make sure that happens. And we each, supposed to have a heart. We should act like we do, and let it not just be that machine that pumps the blood through our bodies, or that thing that thunders when we see someone that catches our eye and causes an infatuation. But let it be that thing that moves us to an action that's positive, that's productive, loving and nurturing, caring and giving.
You are so a perfect example of a good Caymanian, I must say.
Thank you.
Everything you do, the kindness that comes through when you're speaking, and when you're interviewing people, the respect you have for any person, every person. And I want to thank you, Sterling. Merry Christmas, my dear. And Merry Christmas, Ali, and everybody out there. May you stay positive, happy, and find the joy. The joy is there. It's in your heart.
Amen. Well, thank you, Miss Susie. You have, as the caller, as you played the song, reminds us that we find joy in what we do. And I thank my parents for being a great example. Not just the work ethic that they instilled in us, but also the love and appreciation for life and for others, and the value that we have to our own opinions, but the differences that we see. As Ali shared, we're more alike than we are different. And I think Cayman provides a wonderful opportunity to know so many people from so many places, and to be able to learn so much as we live. And it is a blessing,
It's nice. And Christmas is 2 weeks away. And Susan, I'll have to thank her. Oh, my dear, what an angel she is up in there. And so talented. She can do everything.
Huh. Isn't that true?
It's true. She is an amazing woman. And thanks to Radio Cayman.
Well, it is a pleasure, and certainly thank you very much for joining us. And to our listeners, it may feel like a Tuesday, and it probably is, But then depends, if you look at the calendar, you're curious as to what month or what year. Well, as Ms. Susan reminds us, Christmas is nigh. And our blessings and prayers are that it will be a very festive, safe, healthy, happy, beautiful, blessed one. And let's start celebrating now. Give thanks. Let's enjoy.
Watch your driving.
Watch
your driving.
Yeah, please, please, please. All right, join me start in the morning for the record. Come back for a talk today right after the midday news and midday meditation. As you go into the afternoon and waiting for the Super Jam from 3 to 6, Susan will play us some wonderful songs. Now, I haven't made a record.
Oh, the Captain.
You want to hear that one, the Captain?
Oh.
All right, she'll play
The Sea Captain. She already had it on.
She got it there, man.
I love that song.
Well, there's a song that resonates in my heart, but I have to wait until another day for that to start. So until then, I shall enjoy what lies ahead. Be blessed, my friends.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman.
The voice.
The heart. The soul of the Cayman Islands.